Welcome to NLP with Jacci and Lou, all things NLP. This week we're going to do a chat really and a bit of reflection on our recent NLP practitioner training that we ran and what learnings we could take from it, what we noticed, what we particularly enjoyed, unexpected events and how we utilised them, all sorts of things. So Jacci, what was your overall feeling at the end of it?
At the end of the course, my overall feeling was, we've only gone and done it. It was our first time to do that full 5-day learning event. The topic that we live and breathe. So, you know, it wasn't a concern. The concern was for me, okay, this is the first time that you do something in that format, and you're never quite sure how it's going to work. So at the end of it, it was like, oh, we've done it. It was brilliant. And that's why I'm still alive.
Just. I think as well for you, because your background with NLP and certainly your experience of learning it, and also the training you did, wasn't the setup that ABNLP have with the pre-course learning. So from your perspective, there was, I think, an unknown quantity to this in terms of, okay, so the delegates have gone through their pre-course learning. What are they actually going to be like during those 5 days? What's that level of knowledge going to be that we're working with?
Completely, because my experience is of all of that learning happening in person over an extended period of time. So yeah, content's the same, but delivered in a completely different way. So I didn't know what their level of understanding was going to be, and no idea what kind of questions they were going to have, and had to kind of like work on the understanding that trust yourself, trust your delegates, trust your learners. They have got everything that they need, and don't anticipate them not understanding, anticipate them understanding, and have that way of having that presence. So at no point did I think to myself, I'm not going to know anything when they walk in the door. If I did that, oh God, can you imagine what kind of state I'd be in if I was just really
well, it would be a different course, wouldn't it? Because you couldn't do you couldn't do the condensed number of days. It just wouldn't work. The only way it works is because of the pre-course learning and how extensive and detailed that is, combined with our boot camps and our catch-ups with the delegates. So,
and it's not like I had to think to myself, oh well, I'm not sure what level they're going to be at, because they've done 35 to 45 hours of self-learning, self-exploration, everything that's been provided for them for their online e-information. But we've also given them a test. They've had an exam to sit. They've had to demonstrate their learning and get that tick in the box. Otherwise, we would be putting them in a position where they'd be coming into a learning situation unprepared. So,
and we do, of course, recommend
all of those issues were mitigated, really.
Yeah, and we do recommend that they complete the learning twice, the pre-course learning, because NLP is so multi-layered. And even for us, if we went and sat in on a practitioner course next week, we'd still learn things because we're hearing it in a different context. We've got, you know, a different way to assimilate it now. It falls differently, it lands differently. So we always recommend that they complete it twice. Certainly listen to the audios at least twice before they come to us, and then go through it all again after the course.
Also,
open book tests.
The workbook itself and everything's very comprehensive. Open book tests, so you're constantly learning.
And the open book tests, the way they were already integrating and applying it to their world and challenging themselves within it, because, you know, there was some questions where, you know, pick 10 of the presuppositions and discuss them. Okay, so I'm going to choose the ones that I find most challenging to accept, the ones that I've had to struggle to understand and come to grips with.
That was really interesting to see.
Wow, you know, that's brilliant. So when they came to us, they had a good understanding of the basics and were in a good place to start practicing, weren't they? And the questioning was phenomenal.
They were so curious.
Oh,
openly curious,
yeah.
and not just questioning the content, but questioning how they were responding to the content.
Yeah.
And then engaging
why?
in the open conversation. Why? Yeah, why is that? It's questioning themselves. So all the time that they were learning, cogs were whirring inside of them.
We could see it, couldn't we? And I think we naturally adapted to, after we'd sort of set the scene and covered a particular aspect, we almost sat back a bit, didn't we? I noticed the pair of us would start to just sit back and allow them that space to cogitate. They? And then they were having a discussion. They were having a discussion between themselves around how it could be used in each field, and we were just like, but very happy to do so. We absolutely loved seeing that. It was wonderful to see that curiosity, to really get a sense of how they were already looking at different ways to use this in very different fields.
Fields that they're in are vastly different, but what they were able to do was immediately apply it to the areas that they worked in. And there were times when their ability to embed it quite quickly and assimilate it and take it into themselves and work it in their own muscle. I remember there was a couple of occasions when we're going to do some content, and I said, might as well leave now because you've already just what we're going to learn.
Yeah, they kind of took that next step through their discussion, didn't they? Yeah. But we did have to flex a lot, didn't we? Because it was a small group, and none of the delegates were doing this with a view to becoming NLP practitioners in a therapeutic sense.
No.
It was to aid them in their existing careers. So we did have to flex. Well, I guess we did what we do enjoy doing, which is we think on our feet and we go with the flow. We take the training, we cover all the content, but we take the training and deliver it in a way that's best for the delegates' needs.
Yeah, and we know how NLP can help in various areas of personal life, relationships, work, anything, any particular area. We know how it helps in all of those areas.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were quite focused on how they'd apply it within their work was great, because we know that, but we also know how much they were applying it to their own personal life.
Yes.
And that was, they could immediately see how it could impact them in their own personal lives. And there was a balance between the two. It seemed to me as if they were coming with the purpose of it being work, professional, but actually almost as a really nice byproduct. Every now and again it was, oh, I can see how this worked in my personal life. I can see how this worked in that relationship. And it was adding value all the time.
Constantly. Constantly.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, even if we were covering a particular model that on the face of it didn't seem to lend itself to a work environment, they were already thinking about how they would apply it in their personal lives. And actually, if I can do that there, how can I use it at work? Mm-hmm. And, you know, work and business, work and personal were feeding off each other and supporting both areas of their life with this. Yeah. It was one of those training courses that was an absolute privilege to be part of their journey.
Oh, completely. I was blown away by their ability to immediately see the application and then almost jump forward a couple of steps. That by the time that we'd got to the next topic, they'd already decided how they were going to use the previous topic and how they could share that as well. Yeah.
And I was reflecting on my own NLP training, which was very good. I was very, very happy with it. It was a great experience. I don't remember making those connections so quickly, I must admit. I think I was a bit further down the line in my learning before I was making it, probably towards master prac before I was making those connections. So I think, I mean, it is horses for courses, but I think there's certainly something to be said for the benefit of having quality pre-course learning. so that you can maximize that face-to-face time in that exploration and discussion and application and practice. And I do stress quality, and I would never, ever recommend that anybody does all of their training online, or, you know, via I think you use the example, you can't read a car manual and suddenly you're a mechanic.
Exactly.
You need to have that hands-on. But this allowed them to really embrace it and start using this so quickly and effectively, because they'd had that time to go through the training a couple of times. They've already been making connections before they get to us. So it was a lovely thing to see, I thought.
It was
and of course,
we'll
keep developing the pre-course learning as we go,
yes.
isn't it? So.
Yeah. So to make that distinction between e-information and e-learning. So there's loads and loads of different ways of describing this type of learning information. So it can be online learning. What do we mean by online learning? Okay, well, that means that basically any type of learning that you're going to do that's not in person. So you're accessing it via an online platform. But within that, there's a lot of distinctions between the type of learning that you're doing. So there is e-information, which is basically the same as you would get from a book, but you're getting it from an online source. Lots of merits to that. That's quite a lot of what we've got in our pre-course learning. There's reading to do, but we've also added in that variety of listening to some audio, so that you've not just got words on a page, you've got somebody that you can listen to as well, that adds a richness and adds a depth to the words on the page. And you can also have some video in there as well. So if you want to have video, that's fine, but it's very much an information way of learning. And then you've got e-learning, which in our world is much more interactive. It's where the learning platform itself plays the part of the trainer and becomes the trainer. It's not quite as interactive as being in person, it never can be, but there's much more opportunity for interaction in your learning, even though you're accessing it all virtually. So there are a lot of differences in types of learning.
And we're both great believers in whatever works, and also in having the variety, because we're all different. Some people are very comfortable reading information on a page online and taking it in. That's not me. I take it in much better from reading it in a manual on paper. So we make sure that they've got access to that information from the manual on the screen within the learning platform, but they also have the hard copy manual to work through as well. They have audio, they have video, and we're constantly building, and we will be building in some true e-learning elements to it. Not all of it, because 35 hours of e-learning is soul destroying. You know, you need the variety, and I think we knew where we wanted to take this. If we'd waited until we got there, we'd never have launched it. You know, it was like, right,
you just have to do it.
We've got it to a really good variety and a quality product, quality set of pre-course learning that gives plenty of variety. Is it where we want it to be ultimately? No. Is it more than good enough? Absolutely. And certainly the feedback we had from the delegates was extremely positive in terms of the variety with the audio, the video, the online text, the manual text, and the exercises within it as well to do. And then the open book test at the end to bring it all together. So we're continuing to develop that, to add in the e-learning packages within it as well, which will bring another dimension to it. And I think there's certainly some areas that will benefit from that it naturally fits to. And there's other areas where you think, oh no, that wouldn't work for that one. So it's lovely that it's something that we've already had great feedback from. But you and I, being training designers and deliverers by trade, and our background certainly in that field, we're always looking to develop it, because there's always something that can be added, and that's where we love getting that feedback from the delegates. because that helps us keep designing something better and better each time.
And our own feedback as well, our own, okay, what did we notice that we could be doing differently? What can we do differently to support ourselves in our delivery? What can we do differently to make sure that we're that little bit better the next time around? Always wanting to evolve, never want to sit back and, you know, rest on our laurels. Absolutely not. Enjoyed it immensely, learned a huge amount from it, reinvigorating my own NLP understanding, but also having that reflection of delivering in a different way. Say we are designers and deliverers by trade when it comes to training. We've done that in that many different environments with lots of different content and under different pressures and structures. This is about understanding how we can best do it for ourselves within this environment as well, because at the end of the day, as the deliverers for our delegates, we want to make sure that we're on top form, that we can absolutely deliver the best. Not only we will never stint on delivering the best experience for them, it's making sure that we also preserve ourselves, because 5, 6, 7 days straight of training, that is
10 days when we get to Master Prac, that's you know, 10 days solid on a course is extensive work, and it's there is a balance in terms of managing your own energy so that you can continue to give your best. And I think this one, we had a lot of learning on that in terms of managing ourselves and our own stamina throughout and what we need to do differently to maintain that more effectively. But we also had unexpected experiences to learn from, didn't we?
Didn't we just?
I was delivering one session and I kept getting this flash of black and white out the corner of my eye as I'm glancing to what had become the training garden. And I'm sure that's not a cat. That's got a really strange gait. It's not a cat. And I had to do a timeout, didn't I? Just got to check. There's a black and white dog in my garden. How's there a black and white dog? The gate shut. So we had an impromptu break because no one was going to concentrate after that, particularly as we were being highly entertained by your efforts to secure the dog, who was exceedingly, Bruno, bless him, little French bulldog, was it? Very skittish, very quick.
Very skittish. And
very rather smart as well.
Extremely smart. That was a bright dog. That was a bright dog. He was skittish. He'd managed to find his way through a hole in the fence from a neighbour's garden. He was not going to be approached in any way.
Even with delicious ham that was meant for the foxes.
I'm not a dog owner. I've never owned a dog ever, but I have watched several episodes of Caesar Milan. So anybody that knows anything about training, I was channeling my inner Caesar Milan, and what I understood was that I needed to manage my own state and actually be the dog, be top dog. I'm in charge, so that's the way I behaved. And after a little bit of wrangling and some persuasion, we managed to get the lead back on the dog, but used it as a learning.
Absolutely. So when we reconvened with coffee and our delegates in the training garden, the impromptu exercise was, okay, so think of all the learning that you've done over the last few days in terms of NLP. Look at that. Just review that incident. Look at how Jacci dealt with it. What was going on there in NLP terms? And we pretty much pulled out stuff from about 80% of the course, didn't we?
We did, yes.
Managing your state, entering into the dog's model of the world, with perceptual positions. What does the dog want to get out of this?
Managing the state of the owner. Getting into the dog's world by coming down to his level.
We might have to just hire a dog for the next few courses, you know. So we send the dates out. It's week commencing. Well, we start on the 28th of October, don't we?
28th of October
for our next practitioner. And if you would like your dog involved, just joking. You know, it is still ticking it through the back of my mind as, could we do that? Could we?
Yeah, there's a great display of flexibility there. Now we could incorporate that into the learning. Dear. That was so good.
But if you want to join us, and I really hope you can join us on our next training event, If you'd like to learn a little bit more about NLP before that, then please do come along to our NLP boot camps, which have now turned into an international affair. We've gone international. And this time, end of June, 25th of June, we're covering sensory acuity.
Yes, it's normally the last Sunday in the month.
Yeah, so it's notice what you notice, isn't it, with sensory acuity? What is it you're seeing that could signify change? Could signify something going on within a client, the person you're talking to, that indicates to you that perhaps you may need to flex your message a little bit. All about that curiosity and flexibility. NLP Bootcamp's completely free. Jackie, I'm sure you'll add the links to the posts for this and for our practitioner coming up.
And you can always find us on Eventbrite, because that's where they always are.
Absolutely.
You can just follow us on Eventbrite and you'll never miss an opportunity to join an NLP virtual bootcamp. It's just 60 minutes of
exploration,
like-minded people and exploration. Yes.
And some have done some NLP, some haven't. Whatever works. People come to it with an open mind, and we explore a topic, how we've used it, how we could, and just see what comes out. We learn from each other.
Welcome. We have some interesting conversations, some very interesting conversations.
Yeah.
Always look forward to them.
Wonderful.
Okay, so
that's all, folks.
Look forward to. Thanks a lot. That's the end.
See you on the next one. Bye.
See you later. Bye.